Hello and welcome. We are just about to get started. Just a couple housekeeping points for everyone. Everyone is muted on entry, so if you have questions during the session, you're going to want to use the Q&A in the navigation bar in the chat box. And Naveen and Dinesh will be answering questions towards the end of the presentation. And look at that, it's already the top of the hour. So welcome to today's webinar on S4 Central Finance, which is going to be presented by Naveen, Rokkam, and Dinesh Chhabra. We're very excited to have you join us. Today's presenters are, as I mentioned, Naveen Rokkam. He is the VP of Strategic Accounts at Mindset. Dinesh Chhabra is a principal architect also at Mindset. Both of them are senior SAP experts with key experience in accounting and finance implementations and usability. They are both frequent industry speakers and known content contributors, so we're very lucky to have them today. They've put together a very detailed presentation to share with us. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things off to Naveen.
Thank you, Amy, for the wonderful introduction there, and thanks to all the attendees for taking time on your busy schedule and joining the presentation today. A quick intro into the topic, going into the first slide there. Today's topic is focused more on S4 Central Finance and how one could start their journey in this space, understanding a little bit of challenges and things like that. Quick overview on the mission statement for Mindset. Mindset is a technology partner focused on digital transformation in the SAP ecosystem. We have been around for more than 10 years now, helping many Fortune 500 companies. Our passion is to ensure the experience of the customer, the employee within the organization is significantly improved using the SAP systems. A quick preview of the agenda today. We'll talk a little bit about Mindset, not too detailed, elevator pitch, 30 seconds, high level, and then talk about some business challenges. What are the key drivers for central finance as a technology leader, or even as a CIO? I see some of the folks on the call are senior in the C-suite as well. When you think about your journey in S4, what are your key priorities, key challenges, how you should tackle them, what sort of architectural decisions should be taken, what sort of methodology should be used. So these are some broader strokes. We'll touch on them as much as possible. If anyone is interested in any detailed deep dive conversation, we can always take it offline. So going a little into our practice there, Mindset, as I said, is a technology partner. We interact with customers in multiple stages. Our strategy, design, implement, and manage is our life cycle. Across these pillars, we provide a wide array of services, whether it's S4 strategic advisory, whether you need a central finance system based on your ecosystem of systems, or you need a different system, or what sort of central finance strategy is required. All of that comes into our strategy side. In the design space, where we talk a little more detail in terms of our S4 assessment, what are your technology options, greenfield, bluefield, or is it a mix of something else? And then we provide S4 implementation services along with other implementation services with Fiori and things like that. And of course, if we have to manage the systems after go live and implementation, we do have teams which are fully geared up to provide those managed services. A quick leading segue into our products. Our product space is relatively new. We are spinning up few products in the S4 space, especially in the EWM transportation area. So there's a lot of excitement over those areas. If you're interested, we can again take that topic offline. Moving on to the next slide, I probably will hand it over to Dinesh at this point. Dinesh, over to you.
Thank you, Naveen, and thank you, Amy, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody. So thank you for taking the time to join this session with us. My name is Dinesh Chhabra. I'm the principal architect at Mindset Consulting. I live in Naperville, Illinois, in the suburb of Chicago here. So welcome, everybody. So before we go and discuss the topic at length around digital transformation, why it is an imperative in today's world, and how S/4HANA can help speed up that journey, if that is on your roadmap, let's talk about some business challenges that I'm sure that either all or many of those challenges you must be dealing with on a day in, day out basis as well. Yeah. So let's keep at the center of it, what we have is the enterprise. This is your enterprise. And one of the challenges could you be facing is that you look around and say things are changing around us, and everybody is looking for new business models, looking for new growth strategies and looking for new business models. And how do we make sure that we are made up in such a way that we can cater to those business models? And those could be around either subscription-based products and services, or giving a better customer experience, or making your services available, on a platform that anybody can consume. So it can take all sorts of forms and fashions that your customer is looking to operate with you. Yeah. So how do you deal with those? Yeah. The second challenge could be around customer needs, customer experiences, and the way the customer expects us to, collaborate with us, and they want to, be innovative with us. Those experiences, and also they're expecting more personalized services these days, and that could also mean that there's a high volume of business transactions that you have to run through your systems. So that could be another challenge that your enterprise may be trying to tackle. Price wars, yeah, a lot of competition. We know that live in a global world, and there is a global competition going on for products and services. But price wars are basically around, how do you, make sure that you are putting a renewed focus on operational excellence, process efficiencies. Cost cutting is just not one way to do things. Is you have to go beyond that and look for the efficiencies that you can take out inherently within your processes, with your systems or your operations, and make sure that you are bringing the right value proposition to the customer at the right price. Yeah. Changing regulations. This could be also impacting your decision making as well. Things around us are changing. The revenue recognition processes that used to be done certain way, the government is expecting, for better transparency, and the rules around those are changing. Rules around, say, lease accounting, lease management are changing. Even things like diversity, inclusion, and equity. These are not laws, but these are something of expected of an enterprise. So you have to have data around it to make sure that you can report and manage your expectations around the world, that how you're tackling those parts of the equation as well. So those regulations are changing that are asking you to do things differently. Yeah. Stakeholder expectations. We have stakeholders outwardly. We have our shareholders who are looking for profitability, growth, but you have stakeholders, inside your organizations as well. You have an organization of finance, and you have the corporate. They have their own goals and objectives. The office of the CIO, CFO as well, is looking how they can want to contribute, just not to do the bare bone of financial accounting and bookkeeping, but how do you advance your strategic goals by looking ahead, looking at predictive analysis, looking at better planning, so you can be the contributor to the value add functions or the growth strategies that your corporate is trying to embark upon. So those expectations are changing from internally and from external forces that you need to manage as well. Yeah. Then value creation. That's another aspect of a concern or challenge for the enterprise as well. Most of the people are looking at, especially on the finance organization, the office of the CIO is looking to create a digital finance framework where they want to leverage and reimagine the processes, and they want to leverage the newer technology that is available to them, and also make sure that the operational excellence is at a level where they have the resources and to focus on how to predict the future, how to do things faster, or how to do things more with less. So those are the things that we all get challenged, but then we need to find something. How can that transformation happen? Yeah. Technology around us is rapidly changing as well. Talk about blockchain, talk about Internet of Things, machine learning, and automation. How these new technologies are going to be making us capable, or how should we even acquire these capabilities, in which order, to make sure that we can address these challenges. So does this sound familiar to everybody? I know you can't speak, but I'm sure that you are nodding, when you're looking at this, either most of them or all of them are challenges that your enterprise may be facing. So at this point, maybe let's do a quick check, because this is what it's telling us is to address these challenges, all enterprises, small, large, whatever the size might be, must have a digital transformation strategy. So keeping that in mind, let's do a quick poll right now. Yeah. So I'm launching a poll. Your organization has a clearly defined digital transformation strategy. So, if you want to take a chance to just, put your thoughts around it, you agree, don't agree, or strongly agree. I'm going to allow for a few more seconds here. And we can very quickly see the results. Perfect. So let's look at the results very briefly here. So I think 38% of us is saying we strongly agree, which is a good sign, because that means that you have a digital strategy, and most probably you are executing on it. Yeah. Another 3%, another three people, or 38% is saying agree. There is some, neither agree or disagree. That is not very clear. Is that there is a strategy or not, and then some is not sure. So I think a majority of us are saying that we agree that there has to be a digital transformation strategy, and we agree there is one in our organization. And by stating that, you're also saying that it is also well underway as well, which is a good sign. I think for people who are still in that other side of the equation, I think they will be thinking about it, because not taking any action is not the way to serve your enterprise better. So you have to take an action in the right direction.
And just to add on a quick note on that same note, as Dinesh said, right, like there is the need to adapt. Digital transformation is growing rapidly in the organization, and that's been reported in multiple forums and research material like IDC and Gartner. So as you guys are thinking about digital transformation, so some of them who strongly agree and have already in that agree phase, you guys are in the right direction. So kudos on that. Yeah, over to you, Dinesh.
Thank you, Naveen. So while we know that we have to have a digital transformation strategy, and as we all know, there is multiple paths to choose from. Which one is right for me? I mean, that's the dilemma that we all, try to solve for ourselves. And each country, each situation is unique. You are a unique enterprise, and you have unique sets of challenges, and you have to address it in a unique fashion as well. Today we are gathered here to talk about SAP S/4HANA Central Finance, how that can be an avenue towards that goal of reaching your digital transformation aspirations. Now, we are not going to talk much about it, but as we said, there is always more than one way to get there. You may think that if I'm an SAP shop today, either to look into that, do I do a conversion, or do I do a new implementation, or I try to do something called selective migration that will help me get to my end state. The other way to look at it is, I have these many constraints to look for, and neither of those scenarios are helping me. So let's go through those drivers or factors that are impacting our decision making, and see how central finance can help bridge those gaps. So one of those factors could be that you are an enterprise, that you're dealing with complex landscape, and not only complex landscape, you have SAP and non-SAP systems, but there are multiple of those. There could be a dozen, there could be 50, or in some cases there could be maybe more than 100 SAP or non-SAP instances that you are using worldwide to do your operations. You could also be a situation that that your systems are there, but they are more very highly customized. So they were built the way they were built in the past, with some certain mindset, and now they don't hold good, because you want to become standard. You want to employ best practices. You want to employ streamlined processes, and you're not able to do that, because you always have a baggage to carry if you kept the system that way. Data quality is another aspect, another factor that can drive your decision making. In some cases, your enterprise structures could be obsolete based on how you have evolved over the years, and your first implementations were done a certain way, that your plant structure, the company code or legal entity structure, or even the management reporting structures may not be the true reflection of where your future is headed, and you want to correct those now. A lack of agility. We talk about how do you embrace new technologies or new frontiers. You can't do that if you are not agile. If you are not very flexible, if you are not able to embrace change very fast, then that becomes a bottleneck. So there is a lack of agility in your enterprise. You don't have right dimensions to do the reporting on. Things change around us. You have segmentations, you have got regions, you have got geographies, you have new products in your mix. Have you set the system in such a way that you can report on all your reporting dimensions to make right decisions? Or you have done something in such a customized way that everything that you change has to, dealt with very in a special case, because everything is an exception, and you can't just, do things in a very standardized manner, and that could be your limitation as well. Maybe there is a very, not an easy way to integrate your newly acquired business. For the most part, when you go do the M&A, you're looking to govern that business in such a way that you can make an impact on decision making. And the way you do that is that you have insight for actionable information on a real-time basis. But what do you do if all you have is a monthly trial balance to load onto your system, and the events have already happened? So how much decision making can you do on the past, on the data, on the results that have already taken place? All you can do is just report on it. So how do you make it impactful? Maybe that's the way to look at it. What are the avenues that you can leverage to make that impact in your business? And you also have a situation where you have a very difficult time to do a common and centralized reporting for the enterprise. It's easier said than done. These are simple words to say, but as you go and you become more global and more complex organization, more and more you're going towards customizations, more and more you're going towards a scenario where it's not very simple to do things in a standardized, streamlined, and centralized manner, because everything has been acquired or done in such a way that that vision could not come true. So as we all agree that these are imperatives, these are the factors that govern your decision of how do you go from point A to point B. You have got, either one ERP system or you got multiple ERP systems. What's your best path forward? Is it a new implementation? Because you're highly customized, you don't want to carry the baggage of your, bad customizations or bad solution or bad data, and you want to start fresh. So maybe a new implementation could be a path. But again, it's not easy to do that because you're running an operation, and it's not always conducive to start fresh. Do you do conversion, or you do a selective migration where you get best of both worlds? Yeah, often referred to as a blue field implementation. And if none of those are going to be workable solutions for your enterprise, maybe take another look at. That's where central finance comes in. So central finance gives you a non-disruptive way to move from where you are today to start deriving or realizing the benefits of the new innovations, so that you can employ the real-time reporting, so that you can employ the machine learning and the AI, and you can employ the hyper connectivity and hyperscalers to get to the cloud. So in order to achieve those innovations, so maybe central finance is an option for you to take a look at it. So before we go any further, let's do another poll check here as to, where are you in terms of your central finance consideration? So is your organization considering S/4HANA Central Finance in your journey for S4, meaning for digital transformation? So if you could answer that. That's pretty good. So we have 33% voted. Just a couple more seconds to that. So 7 out of the 11 have voted. Okay, I guess, if that's not moving, let's publish the polls based on what we have so far. So since not everybody's, voted on that one, but at least we can see the mix here. So there is 14% of the total says evaluated, but did not find the use case. Yeah, makes perfect sense because everybody is unique. So you have at least taken a look at it and you thought that is not going to be my use case. 29% of you think that we have evaluated it and you have selected S/4HANA as your migration strategy or your journey towards your S4, which is a very good step. And then there are another 29% that who have not considered it at all. And there are another 29% who have evaluated it, but they're not decided yet whether that is the right path to take. Again, there is a sentiment out there that we fall under all the 4 buckets, which is what we would have expected because we are all unique. The enterprise is unique. And what you need to know is what's out there as a possible avenues, and what's best for us, because what you want to do is for your enterprise only the best. Yeah. So let's go and talk about now, since we know that there is a aspiration to go for central finance, but how can it help us to get there and learn something about a little bit more about that? So let's carry on the conversation. So what is central finance? So central finance is an S/4HANA system which can be installed and which is usually installed as a sidecar, meaning it sits outside your your infrastructure today that you have multiple ERPs. It will sit outside of that. It's a standalone system, and it will be able to receive your financial accounting information at the line item level from your SAP and non-SAP systems. That is called real-time replication. Yeah, that's what S/4HANA as a system is. What else it is? It is a non-disruptive approach to accelerate your journey for innovation and digital transformation. And the reason it is non-disruptive is because you are setting up S/4HANA Central Finance as a sidecar, and there is a least amount of thing that you have to do on your source systems. You have to do actually very least amount of work. It's very non-disruptive. Don't make any changes, but you need to set it up in such a way so you can start receiving from these source systems the pertinent information onto your target system and start deriving the benefits of the S/4HANA capabilities. What else it is? It is a real-time centralized financial and management reporting system for an enterprise. So it gives you an overall solution where not only you are able to do your centralized common reporting, the keyword is real-time. Yeah. What else it is? It is a scalable for local and central processes. So what are local processes? The local processes can be defined as the ones that are being done on your respective source systems. So if you have like a system for your region or for your product or for your for a geography, so that system can be still used by those business people or functions to do the local processes. But once the data comes into the central finance side of it, you can start doing central processes, meaning if you want to do central reporting, you want to do consolidations, you want to do some central payments, you can start expanding those functions. And the key word is here scalable, because everything should be done in a very incremental fashion. So you can start with the replication, but then incrementally you can scale your processes and start bringing from local to central processes, which makes sense for you. Last but not the least, single source of truth, because what you have here is now you are not going to be going after the data and putting them into BW or some data warehouse for assimilation purposes and reconciling whether I got everything in the right format on the right manner so you can report on it. You are actually creating one version of the truth by bringing in the detailed information as they are transacted in your source systems onto your S/4HANA platform. And once that becomes your ground of reporting, you have to be sure, you are actually sure what you're dealing with right now is one version of the truth. So that's central finance in a nutshell. Yeah. Let's take a look at it, how, in a very simplistic manner though, how is the application architecture of a central finance system looks like. So what you have here is your multiple ERP systems or non-SAP systems. Could be an Excel-based, could be some JD Edwards system, could be SAP or Oracle system. So multitude of systems. What do? They connect to the S4 system via this mechanism called SLT, which is the Landscape Transformation Server. So that's the middleware that is used to bring in your data at the real-time level onto the S4 side. And what can you do on your S4 side here is, let's go and get a brief understanding around it. So it's an accounting interface that brings the data. You have the capability to do master data governance, and you do business mapping as well. You also have the thing called application interface framework, where you can do some error handling. So if the data is not coming to you properly, because there are checks and balances that are happening on the SLT side, so you can go and correct those errors and bring the data which is now pristine. Before we talk about a little bit more about what happens to the data coming in, let's spend a few minutes around talking about how the SLT server can be staged. So SLT server, it can be staged on your source side, or it can be embedded on the S4 side But for the most organizations which are global, in nature and are processing a lot of information, we have also seen that SLT should be as more of a standalone as a hub. So you can set up as a hub. Similarly, for master data as well. If you have master data, you can have it as an embedded version, or you can have as a master data as a hub as well, like SLT. So there are two options available to you. Once the data gets in here, you have the mapping done for all the objects. Your data is now coming to this bucket called Universal Journal Entry. This is where the refinement of the S/4HANA has taken place, as opposed to ECC, where you had multiple tables and aggregation tables. You have one version of the truth here. That's why SAP refers it as a single source of truth, because now everything that you brought in from these systems has ended up here after all the transformation through MDG, after the error correction, because now it is pristine, and now you can start reporting out of it. What is the benefit? It is real time. Now you see the benefit. There is no need to take this data elsewhere to a BW system or a data warehouse to be able to do analytics. You can do transaction as well as analytics right from the same source. What other thing is important to us is user experience. Now you're able to give better user experience to your stakeholders, to your employees, for that matter, or to your business partners, for that matter. They can interact with you with your information, in a much more collaborative manner. And you can also perform planning and consolidations all under one umbrella, because all the data has been consumed, which is residing here. Yeah. Along with this architecture, SAP provides you some capabilities or technologies. So it allows you for real-time replication. Yes. It will also allow you for data logging, meaning it gives a stamp as to what data was brought in from here to here. It keeps track of that. It will allow you to do the business mapping. So for things like company codes, cost centers, and things, which are the org elements kind of objects, you can use MDG for that. And then you can propagate that through MDG framework, either to one S4 system, or if there are multiple systems on the target site, you can propagate there as well. But business mapping refers to, if you have cost objects, such as, process orders or internal orders, whatever you might have in your design, you can do those mappings in the mapping framework here. You can have the inbound posting capability here as well, meaning when the data comes in here, you know that this is how it got posted, and this is what the transaction was used, and it has all the details that you need for audit trail purposes. You have the means to do the data reconciliation so that nothing gets dropped from here to coming in here. You have the AIF, which is the application interface framework that you can use, and the abbreviations are here. What does SLT stands for? What is MDG? What is AIF? And what's the business rule framework? So you can use the error correction mechanism that is natively inside there to correct all the errors. So if their cost objects are not set up properly, if there is a tax code setting that is preventing the data to flow from here to here, you can correct those and then bring the pristine data onto the universal ledger, universal journal here. Data digitization capability is also there, meaning if you want to augment the standard structures to do like a reporting that is not sufficient through the standard mechanism, you have the capability to do those things as well. Back posting is also available, meaning if you did something on your target system, such as like a cash application, if you are using central payments, you can take that pertinent data back to your source system through the back posting mechanism to say that this item has been cleared on the target side. And the initial data load and simulation capability is also available, and for the purposes of bringing in the historical data. As we said, it's a real-time replication, it's a trigger mechanism, but what happens for the data that is already in your system on the source side, and you want to make it whole on this side, you can use the initial load for historical data conversion as well. Okay. So we have talked about at this point, yes, we understand digital transformation is imperative for an enterprise. We also talked about there are more than one ways to get there, but we are looking specifically today around S/4HANA Central Finance that can accelerate our journey from point A to point B, so we can start deriving the benefits of the new digital core. Yeah. And then we also looked around what are the constraints or the factors that are preventing us to make that decision. And then how do we overcome those? Once we went through the central finance, we talked about what is central finance and how is in the simple way how the architecture looks like. Let's focus on once we have SAP, once we have the central finance installed and the replication has taken place, what can we do with that? Okay, what we can do is we can start doing financial reporting. We can start doing management reporting. You can run analytics and reporting out of that. As we said before, now you have the data that need not be sent out to any data warehouse. You can run your analytics, dashboarding, and everything else right from that data source, from the Universal Journal. And you can also perform tax reporting, should you desire to do so. What else can we do? Now you can take a look at your operational finance, and you can bring in that in the fold as well. So intercompany reconciliation, receivables management, you also want to do invoice management, you want to do central payments, credits and collections, dispute, or treasury functions for cash and liquidity planning. You can also look into those areas as well, because you must be doing these processes today, because you're an enterprise, you're running global operations. So these processes may be right now happening in your as a local process at the region level. You may not have transferred them to be done in a more of a central manner or a shared services manner. So you can take a look at it as a focus process area, what makes a good candidate for us to bring from the local processes to become a central process. And then the next part will be around enhancing your reportings, like planning and budgeting, group reporting. You can look at disclosure management. And then once you set the stage, as we said before, that now you are very much set up for a shared services concept. You also must be doing shared services today. You may have shared services somewhere in Far East or Middle East, somewhere in Europe. But now you can do it in a much more there must be some constraints out there, but now you can do a more expanded manner, because you know that everything is streamlined and standardized. You have a better handle on those processes. You can take more and more work and start performing as a shared services framework. Okay, so now we know that what SAP S/4HANA Central Finance can do. It's just not replication. We have certain focus areas that we can take a look at and incrementally start building those out on our journey to S4. Yeah. Uh, Before we do that and look at how the journey is going to look like, let's talk about what are the use cases for central finance. We did talk about early on about the factors that influence our decision, whether we go new implementation, or we do conversion or a selective migration, and then how do we tackle that, and then how central finance can come in and be the supporting arm to help us. Yeah. So the first one could be that if you are an enterprise who is actually doing a lot of growth around mergers and acquisitions, as we know in today's world, there is a lot of M&A going on as well. So central finance could be a use case. For central finance, M&A could be a use case. Why? Because you don't want your newly acquired business just to turn in monthly trial balance after 30 days, and you then consolidate on day 10 and report on the data that for the facts that have already been conducted. So you have no leeway to make a change because you never saw the data that could become actionable for you. So M&A is a good example for that, because you want a repeatable process that works, so that the newly acquired business can come into that framework and you can connect it through the central finance. So that's a good use case. What's the second use case? Subsidiary integration. Uh, many of the companies, even today, they may not just have SAP on their portfolio. They may have some other best of breed, industry specific solutions that they want to preserve, but they could be outdated. They could be, running out of time. They may be not supportable. Their end of life systems. But in some cases, you may have done something better to them. You may have gone to S/4HANA Cloud for that purpose, for that subsidiary, and you have no intention to bring them on to the digital core just because it doesn't make economic sense. The size is so small, there are less number of people to be impacted, and you want to keep it separate. Another good case is a subsidiary integration, that if you don't want to bring that unit or a region or product to your digital core, you can still connect it through central finance, and then you can still get a meaningful central reporting done for that subsidiary as well. of data from SAP and non-SAP systems. That's another use case. Like we talked about, there is a lot of things that are overlapping, but the way we want to spell that out for you is that each of these use cases that we're talking about, it just supports your vision that why you should go the central finance route. It will help you in that regard. So if you have data that is stemming from SAP and non-SAP sources, yes, central finance can be that conduit to bring the data in one central place for you to do the reporting on. Your enterprise objective is to move towards cloud, yeah, because a lot of companies are thinking about that way, how to reduce the total cost of ownership. And moving your large enterprise infrastructure to the cloud right away could be a mammoth task. You may not want to take a lot of risk. So why don't we start with something? You have a new install of S/4HANA. Why don't you use the cloud platform? Because it is available on-premise and cloud. So your use case could be, how do I venture into the venture of cloud platform as a platform as a service? And I will go and move my system, install my system on the cloud, yeah, and go that route. So that's another avenue or a use case for central finance. Data management. So you have data coming in from all sorts of source systems, yeah. But think about customers and vendors. In the new world, they are called business partners, yeah. So how do you harmonize? How do you centralize the data? The quality of data may be suboptimal in some cases, and you know that, but it is too hard of an effort that you can't control it, because you have to live with it, because there is nothing can be done so easily. So a central finance journey can give you that opportunity to rethink and do the intensive work, which is an opportunity for you, because you will never get that opportunity again. So do it right, and harmonize the data, clean it up, centralize it, because after that, governing the data may become much more simpler, because here you will have now master data governance in the equation. You will have a better prospect of governing the data properly and keeping it intact and pristine for the rest of your lives, because you're trying to make everything what? You're trying to make it future proof. So, and data is pivotal to that aspect of the equation. Yeah. Shared services, that's another use case we have talked like at least a couple of times in the previous slides, that once you have harmonized your processes, standardized your processes, it does give you a framework to start looking into that respect. Why can't I keep and co-locate these people and co-locate the processes where it makes a lot of sense for us? Yeah. We live in a global world, and we have a global company, and we have got resources to do that. And there is always, a benefit or rethinking going on how to optimize those processes. And shared services is one way to optimize those processes. So this is another use case that can be applicable for central finance. And last but not the least, you have another use case for consolidating your disparate ERP systems. Think another way. People do instances consolidation all the time. You have got 7 systems out, in globally running, and there is always a desire, because it all happened in the chronological order because of events that happened on your enterprise level that you couldn't control. But now you think about it, you say there is a good opportunity to become one global instance, because that makes a lot of sense for us. We can do that, but how do you consolidate it? Now, you can stage a new system and start bringing all the information to that new system. It could be a long journey. It could take 3 to 4 years, and you don't have that much time. So central finance is another avenue to take a look at it, how you can accelerate in an accelerated fashion. You can put something together where you can start doing replication and gradually, decommissioning your systems, and you're doing instance consolidation from 6 systems to say maybe one global system, starting with central finance. So those are the use cases. I'm sure that, if not all, some of them or many of them, you could think about. And the people who said they are still thinking about it, whether it's the right scenario for us or not, maybe think through differently. We can also help you with some roadmap assessments, but just gives you not, every company is unique, but it should give you an idea as to, for your decision-making process, are these the considerations you need to take to make the right decision for your enterprise?
Just to add on to that, Dinesh, that's really a good summary of many use cases. One of the common thing that we keep hearing is mergers and acquisitions And so some companies, they have in financial information in their SAP system, they have financial information in Blackline. So there is this ever growing need of bringing everything together, right? And you really touched well on some of those topics of consolidating disparate ERP systems. And in the previous slides, we also talked about company codes and the challenges that have gone through, uh, the companies might have gone through in creating some of the hierarchical structures there. So using central finance, if you are already in that roadmap of transformation, you got an opportunity to correct some of those decisions and streamline it and consolidate your organizational hierarchies too. Another common quote that we keep hearing a lot is data is the new oil. This was actually first mentioned by Clive, a British mathematician. And he was probably right? Like data is king in today's world, and there's a lot of emphasis on getting the right data at the right time. So a system that could bring all of that together will definitely help you. Over to you, Dinesh.
Thank you, Naveen. Very good points. So early on, we talked about central finance. We also talked about, doing the standard way of doing, things. What is central finance? It's just a module or solution within the realm of S4. But you also have your standard FICO modules as well. And you might want to think, what makes most sense for us? Should we go the central finance route, or should we just implement, standard FICO module via conversion process, or you through selective migration or new implementation? And I bring back again the same factors, call it driver in this case, that these are the situations. You have a multiple ERP landscape. You have also have a highly customized solutions as of today. You have the desire to consolidate your landscape. You want to correct your enterprise structure going forward. Or you are just a single ERP. In your enterprise, you have one ERP solution. But you also have a desire to do centralized financial processes. And the other driver could be that you want to implement end-to-end processes for, say, requisition to pay. You want to have plan to produce, hire to retire. You have all those processes and logistical processes as well to implement in one go. So where would you put your focus? Again, I would say that each decision for each company is unique, because you are unique in your own respects. So this is, you should take that as a directional or a discussion purposes only. But take a look at it. If you had a multiple ERP, maybe going the central finance route or leaning towards that would make a lot of logical sense for us, for you actually. If you are highly customized, maybe a central finance option is a very well suited one as well. If you want to consolidate your landscape, again, a central finance is a good way to think through. For obsolete enterprise structure that you want to correct for the future, central finance can help you there as well. If you're a single ERP, no, that's a blank for central finance. But again, I will speak in a minute about that as well. But for centralized processes, central finance again is a step to go. Now, if you are highly customized, you can also go as for HANA, standard way of doing implementation. So if you use ECC, full-blown ECC today, you can implement new one because you think it is highly customized, and it will not give you the greatest benefit if you just did the conversion, because you will carry the baggage of your data as well as bad customizations to the future, and you don't want to do that, which is the right thing to do anyways. You might want to do new implementation, but again, that has its own sets of challenges. Yeah. But again, if you have highly customized solution, you can go the standard way of implementation as well. If you are a single ERP, then, or you have enterprise structure that needs to be corrected, you can still do the standard way, because you can do selective migration. And in doing so, because you're decoupling your data from your configuration in that respect, you have the opportunity to correct your structures and reporting hierarchies for the future, and then bring the data followed by that. You can do that. If you are a single ERP, it would make sense to just convert it that way, or do the selective migration for that ERP. So you can do that. And then you have the integrated processes. So with respect to that, you have the option, you can take a look at your S/4HANA processes, because you want to implement full-blown logistics and integrated processes with finance. In that case also, it will be much more meaningful for you to consider either a new implementation or a conversion or a selective migration. But having said that, we have also seen instances where a company, a very large company, a global company, had a single ERP, but it was highly customized. Even though this particular slide will tell you that the decision should be going towards conversion, that company chose to do central finance. Why? Because there were like so many users worldwide that they were using, they could not wait 4 years to realize benefits of S4. So what they did was, because their situation was single ERP, a global system, were used by 30,000 people, and it was highly customized, which they never wanted to go and bring their customizations forward, they chose a central finance way. So just an example that this should give you some enlightenment as to what your thought process should be in considering what's right for your enterprise. As we said, S/4HANA implementation is a journey. It is not start and you stop somewhere. You start small, but then you go to the end road. And this is one way of telling the story. It is not that you have to follow 100%, but it will give you some pointers how other people have done it and where your focus should be on as well. So the first step should be replication, meaning you want to bring the data whole for centralized reporting, and you have a new S4 system. It could be on cloud or on premise. You can set up your new enterprise structure. You can harmonize your data. You can do the mapping. The most important thing is the user experience. Don't don't ignore it. If you are, make sure that you bring that into the fold, because this is going to enhance the experience, the adaptability, and your ultimate value of your investment of your for digital transformation to be exponentially high. So make sure that you pay focus on this user experience. And then if you want to expand your footprint a little bit beyond replicating, you can also look into reporting for consolidations. And by virtue of that, you will get fast close and continuous accounting. So the next step in the journey could be centralized processes. So first you did centralized reporting, then you did centralized processes. We are bringing in operational finance aspects into that. You are expanding your footprint by, say, central payments, bank account management, treasury functions. Other important part is, as you grow from user experience, you can give an experience to your senior management of the digital boardroom. Or you can bring it on this side as well. It all depends, depending upon how much you want to chew in on the first time. But the boardroom reporting and KPI is an essential component of showing the value to the senior management, because you're putting information at their palm, right at where they can click anywhere, anytime. They get the decisions made right there. Yeah. So that's what the power of S/4HANA would be, and that's what you're trying to realize by expanding these features and functions and giving that power to the right people. Yeah. The next step could be, now you have reporting done, you have the centralized processes. The next step could be, now you have a fully enabled enterprise, which is an intelligent enterprise. You're leveraging the user experience. You are also in a position, if you wanted to do that, your end game was to decommission your SAP or non-SAP systems, you have the luxury of doing so. Again, it's a journey, it's a story. Not that you have to follow this 100%, but just gives you that everything is incremental. You have to start from replication for reporting, add processes for operational finance, add more processes for order to cash, plan to produce, make it a fully optimized platform to become an intelligent enterprise, leverage the UX, leverage the new technologies of machine learning and AI, and then gradually decommission your legacy systems. So before we do that, let's take another poll. So what we are trying to ask is, improving user experience is a critical component of digital transformation strategy in my organization. So if you could please vote on that. Good participation. We got 8 out of 13 reported. So if anyone wants to take the opportunity to complete their vote, that will be appreciated. I guess that's not moving, so that's okay. We can end the poll now. and share the results. Wow. So what we see is the question was improving user experience is a critical component of the digital transformation strategy. 40% of the audience says strongly agree. Another 40% say agree. But there are few people who are saying we agree or not agree. Our experience tells us, and we are supporting the other 80% as well here, that user experience should be considered as an integral part of your digital transformation. Some things will be very inherent. You can say, I will have Fiori applications and I can launch those, but I think it is a little bit more than that. And that's where I think mindset can help you devise those things as well, how to get better value or if your user experience capabilities from the overall architecture that you are trying to, that you can derive from the solution. Yeah, we can help you in that regard. But we totally agree with that, and we give, we are very supportive of the people who think that is very critical. So very good. Let's continue. So now, since most of us are in that game that we are either implementing S4 or we do plan to look at it, and we may decide or not decide, but we want to give you some insights into some considerations that we have learned. And there are some new things that SAP has brought forward as well as part of their 2020 Delta scope. So we just wanted you to know those as well. In the asset accounting case, even though the data comes in at the line item level, there is a constraint there that it does not replicate all the data to your fixed asset subledger. It only comes to the universal journal. This is just a constraint that you should know. You can't do much about it, but you should know about it. That's about it. The costing based COPA will not be supported. It is the account based COPA that will be replicated. Settlement rules, again, I would say that this is not the exhaustive list of all the exceptions, but we just want to point out that there are some things that may not work as you may have thought, or there are some capabilities that you may not have taken a look at it. We just want to point this out to you as considerations as you implement your solution going forward. Logistics documents will not make it over to S/4HANA. And master data harmonization will be the most important and critical part of your journey. When you are embarking on this journey, please pay special focus on that, because as Naveen pointed out early on, data is oil, meaning data is so critical that if you did this right, your chances are that your reporting and everything else will go right, and you will be able to govern that data properly going forward as well. With the new release of 2020, SAP has come up with a new third-party interface. So take a look at it. Maybe there is a help or there's an avenue for you to consider there. Document split, it was not supported previously, but this time around, SAP is allowing you to do the document splitting even if it's not active, if you're using classic GL on your legacy side. So if it is preventing you, you can set it up in your target system. Tax reporting, as we always advise our clients that your transactional system is your reporting and your audit system. So make sure that you do the tax calculations on your source as you are transacting your business. But as you implement central finance on your target system, please make sure that you can turn on the tax consistency checks on the target side, so that it checks that the data that is coming on from your source system is accurate. And if it is not, then it will tell you, prompt you to make some corrections, which will be helpful, because ultimately, if you want to do the reporting from your target system, you want to ensure the data that came from your source is accurate. And there is a new set of capabilities called Magnitude. It's a product that has SAP has brought into its own fold as well. As we always say, don't reinvent the wheel. So we encourage you to take a look at it. It can help you some time and energy when you integrate your non-SAP non-SAP systems onto the SAP side. This could give you some advantage as well. I'm going to now give it back to Naveen. He's going to walk you through some skills and competencies that are essential to run these projects, and also the mindset advantage, how we can help you. So over to you, Naveen.
Thank you, Dinesh. So when we look at some of the ways in which we could accomplish an S4 project, right, in central finance space, broadly the three areas that one would focus. One is your functional expertise, and then that includes your, SMEs and all the group and things like that. The other is your technical group, which is more your SLT developers. It could be your backend developers, your technical architects, and the basis and security. And the third work stream that we highly recommend is the user experience work stream. These three work streams together, of course, the project management office and the governance board included, they help you put together a tactical plan of accomplishing your central finance implementation. One thing I would also like to call out is as you think about this, there are few areas in which we could help bring value to your organization. The first is focus on user experience. The most often question that we are asked is, "Hey mindset, how can you help us visualizing things ahead in the curve and enabling us to set up a methodology, a framework where our solution build teams who are focused on configuring the company codes, the tax classifications, and all of that, at the same time enabling our user experience teams to work in parallel." So we do a lot of that, and putting together a factory for them for continuous innovation in the digital experience space. And then of course we talk a little bit further down the road, like what is the opportunity out there? Are there elements of machine learning or even chat bots that one could use? We had a particular customer who was interested in providing their finance organization a seamless one-stop cockpit experience where they have a chat bot on the right side on the window, and they just ask like, "Hey, show me my general ledger report." And then the bot would actually show them the general ledger report for the last three most seen general ledgers. And then it would say, "Do you want to see another general ledger, or does this report make sense?" And they can essentially just click on it, drive on it, and then take it more seamless experience. And of course when it comes to the experience context, right, and the analytics make a significant value add, especially in the finance space. We do a lot of design thinking innovation in designing a couple of experiences. There are four broad categories of experiences. One is transactional, where you want to post an entry in a ledger, or would you like to see some of those entries. The second experience is more organizational dialogue, and that's what is represented there as digital boardroom. It's not the digital boardroom as a product from SAP, but broader than that. When you look at a dashboard, it provokes an organizational dialogue, right? Like, why are my KPIs down? Why is this trending upside, or why is it trending downside? Why is my cost of goods being impacted by this variant of KPI, and things like that. So there are experiences which promote those dialogues, and we highly recommend the IT leadership team to think in those views as well. So that's a little bit of how we can help broadly there. And uh, Dinesh, if you would like to bring back your slides. Yeah. At this point, probably we'll open it for Q&A. We're hitting the top of the hour. Would like to keep it on time. Any questions that we could take?
Yes. Thank you, Dinesh and Naveen. That was a great presentation. We are running a little bit behind, and I do see a number of questions from folks. So just to let everybody know, we do have a recording of this session that we're taking, and we will have it on Mindset's YouTube channel. So if you do need to pop off, we will have the Q&A section on that recording, just to let you know in advance. But let me get to the questions. There are several. The first one is, there are about 1,000 Fiori applications for finance. Can we use them all?
Yeah, I'll probably take this one. You guys are spot on, right? Like, there's so many out of the box apps available, and it makes sense to look at them, evaluate if those are a good fit for your work streams, and if that's a potential use case, whether it's a credit to cash, R2R, FTP, whatever those work streams are. You should definitely look at them. However, what we also have seen is, as organizations are complex, their needs are also very custom and fine-tuned. So there's always a continuous improvement as you go live with some of those standard out of the box apps. Down the road, you have to challenge yourself to think more effectively and maybe merge some of them into a singleton application, or maybe have, again, go back to the organizational dialogue provoking applications. So definitely a good start. And that's another area where we can help with some UX advisory in putting together your journey map and enabling you to spin up an organization which can achieve that journey map. Dinesh, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you covered it well, Naveen.
Great. Amy, over to you.
Great, thanks. Next question. Okay, how do you plan for user experience while building the core functionality at the same time?
So this is a very interesting question. I think I briefly touched on it. When we look at the three work streams, right? Functional, technical, and user experience. And I like to use the work stream. I almost think about these teams as a product team versus a project team. And that's a mindset shift that I would encourage the IT leadership to strongly embrace. As you guys put these product teams together, this would help you to think about continuous improvement, minimum viable product, version 1, version 2, and things like that. One of the ways that it has always helped us is by thinking about working this together along with SAP methodology of Activate and bringing in your agile flavor and using a methodology called SAFe, Scalable Agile Framework. So there is a mechanism in which you can bring multiple work streams and ensure the work stream dependencies are organized and everybody is able to deliver things on time at high quality and ensure the project go live is successful. So SAFe is a methodology I would highly recommend. Do check it out. It's a proven methodology. And happy to have more conversation on that.
And the reason I took back to this slide was because that becomes the product team. As you rightly said, Naveen, that's the reason I brought back the slide, just to make that point clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. And luckily we have one more. So many good questions today. What is the typical implementation time for an S4 CFIN project?
So let me take that question. Again, I would answer that with that it depends. But I think what we have seen is that if you are taking the first step of replicating the data, and then starting out in an incremental fashion, it can take you from 3 to 6 months to set up the system and start deriving the benefits of S/4HANA digital, those functions and technologies. So typical timeline would be around 3 to 6 months. Again, there is always, what you put in the scope, but that is something achievable.
Absolutely. My other recommendation would be, again, uh, think big, start small, fail quick, and learn quick, right? So definitely put your roadmap together, identify how you can bring probably like 5 or 10% of your business first into central finance, learn from those experiences, challenges, and then put those learnings into practice and tackle your biggest businesses next.
That's great. I think that's it for the questions. So
Awesome. Really, once again, you'd like to thank you for taking time today and joining for this webinar. There's so many nice questions, and that we can definitely do more follow-ups. This is the contact for Dinesh and myself. Feel free to reach out to us, email or phone. We are happy to answer any questions. And Amy would put this recording on YouTube channel for Mindset. And yeah, we look forward for doing it more. Probably we'll do one more session in Jan, so stay tuned for the next version of this one.
yeah. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
So, and just to follow up on what Naveen said, we do have a number of roundtables and webinars coming up for free in December and in January. So please head out to the Mindset Events page and register for as many as you like. We love seeing all of you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.